Good evening and welcome to the Whiting Street Project Development and Environment, or PD&E, Study Alternatives Update. This Alternatives Update is being conducted by the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, also known as THEA. THEA owns and operates the Selmon Expressway, and we thank you all for attending. We are holding this meeting virtually to follow health guidelines for large gatherings and to ensure the greatest ability to attend and learn about this study. The information presented in this meeting is the same as if the meeting were held in person. In addition, we are recording the presentation. The presentation and the question and answers from this evening will be on the Whiting Street PD&E website by close of business Friday, May 21st. Here is our agenda for this evening's meeting. We'll begin with a discussion on how to use the question and answer feature of Zoom, then a quick slide on THEA, who we are and how we operate. We'll then step through the study process, the constraints and considerations that we're working with, and the areas of study and the alternatives that we're considering. Finally, we'll go over the next steps for the study. We will also provide time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation. Again, a recording of the presentation and a copy of the Q&A will be available on whitingstreetpde.com website. I would ask you to hold your questions until the end because hopefully we'll answer your questions as we go through the presentation. The chat feature on Zoom has been disabled. The Q&A button is at the bottom of your screen. Open up the Q&A box to type your question. Once your question has been answered, everyone on the webinar tonight will be able to see the name of the person who asked the question, and the answer. And again, I ask you to hold your questions until the end of the presentation. We will keep the meeting open for 30 minutes following the end of the presentation to answer as many questions as possible. All questions and answers, along with a recording of this meeting, will be posted on the website, whitingstreetpde.com. The Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority is an independent transportation tolling agency of the state. We receive no tax funding for the operations, maintenance, renewal, and replacement of our properties. New projects are funded with a combination of our toll revenues and toll bonds. Tolls collected on the Selmon Expressway stay in Hillsborough County. We have a 7-member local board of directors, four local citizens appointed by a governor, Vince Cassidy, Bennett Barrow, Danny Alvarez, and John Weatherford, 2 local elected officials, City of Tampa Mayor Jane Castor and County Commissioner Ken Hagan, and the District 7 Secretary of Transportation, Secretary David Gwynn. Our main asset is the Leroy Selmon Expressway, a toll road that connects Brandon to downtown Tampa and downtown Tampa to the Gandy Bridge in Pinellas County. We just opened the extension of the expressway on Gandy Boulevard. This connection will allow a vehicle to go from South 275 in St. Petersburg to I-75 in Tampa with only one stoplight. THEA also owns several bicycle and pedestrian paths in Hillsborough County, Meridian Avenue in Tampa and Brandon Parkway in Brandon. They're feeder roads to the reversible express lanes as well as well-maintained bicycle and pedestrian paths. THEA also owns the Selmon Greenway, which is a bicycle and pedestrian path under the Selmon Expressway in downtown Tampa. So let's talk about how a project is put together. Whenever an agency thinks about doing a project, there is a process that it must follow. We first plan for a project. The project need could be operational. Something needs to change to make the system work better. It could be capacity. Something needs to be added to make the system work better. In this case, when THEA built Meridian Avenue that basically opened up the east side of downtown, we pledged to the city and the community that we would connect Whiting Street to Meridian Avenue once the flour mill had moved. Ardent Mills has committed to moving the flour mill within the next few years, so we've started looking at ideas on how to make the system, the Selmon Expressway and the downtown streets, function better for drivers and pedestrians. We are currently in the PD&E study part of the process. A PD&E is an environmental and engineering process developed by the Florida Department of Transportation to look at the social, economic, natural, and physical environmental impacts of the different ways to build a project. This process was put in place decades ago to openly address a transportation challenge or need, and to ensure that there were no disproportionate impacts to any part of the community. After the study is completed, the THEA board will determine if it wishes to continue with the project. If so, design and engineering, finance, and right-of-way acquisition follows. The project is then put out to bid for construction, and of course, there's always a maintenance phase. So as I said, we are in the project development and environmental study stage. In the PD&E process, there are 4 steps. The first step is to develop ideas to address the purpose and need of the project. We call these preliminary alternatives. A no-build alternative is always considered. The no-build is just that. It's what happens if we don't make any improvements at all. Once the alternatives are developed, the team evaluates each alternative, determine how well it addresses the purpose and need of the project. The alternatives are refined until they are ready to be presented to the public. Next, we present the alternatives and their potential impacts and gather comments from the public. That's what we're doing tonight and for the next 2 weeks. Once all the comments are collected and reviewed, the next step is to refine the alternatives and recommend a preferred alternative. We will then hold a public hearing, which is planned for the fall of 2021, to present the recommended preferred alternative. At that meeting, you can review the preferred alternative and provide additional comments. We then hope to finalize the study in late 2021. So let's talk about the PD&E study area. The Selmon Expressway provides a critical connection within our community and region. It serves as an alternate route to the interstate and is a key component of the state's strategic intermodal system. It also serves as a designated evacuation route, and over 200,000 daily travelers use this portion of the road. I talked about our commitment to connect Whiting Street to Meridian Avenue. We would have to remove the railroad tracks in order to do that, and that alone would help us restore the grid network in this area. But the city of Tampa is a Vision Zero city, and THEA is always looking for ways to help with Vision Zero initiatives. The alternatives were developed with pedestrian safety and walkability in mind, in addition to connecting the center portion of downtown Tampa to the east. We are excited about how downtown is changing and growing, and we are committed to being part of the solution that makes getting around safer and easier for all. To honor our commitment to connect Whiting Street to Meridian Avenue, we have to reconfigure some ramps and realign others. There are 4 locations that we will look at tonight. Location A, Whiting Street from Meridian Avenue to Brush Street. Location B, Whiting Street from Brush Street to Jefferson Street, and a new intersection at the end of a new Whiting Street exit ramp. Location C, Jefferson Street entrance ramp and a new Whiting Street exit ramp. And location D, removal of exit ramp 6B and reconstruction of exit ramp 6A, better known as the Florida off-ramp and the Channelside off-ramp. Tonight, we are presenting the alternatives we've developed, the process we have taken to get there, and the advantages and disadvantages of each alternative. We will take the comments we received tonight to refine the alternatives and move to the next stage of the study. As we are looking at this area, there are several conditions and constraints that we took into consideration. For location A, for Whiting Street, in this image, you can see that the railroad tracks create a barrier for people traveling between the central and eastern portions of downtown. Staying with location A, currently Whiting Street ends at Brush Street west of the railroad tracks, shown towards the bottom of the image, and Meridian Avenue east of the railroad tracks, shown at the top of the image. For location B, just looking at Whiting Street, it's currently only 2 lanes, and east of the Selmon Expressway, Whiting Street is a brick road that is in need of repair. For location C, since there is no current Whiting exit ramp, there is no conditions or constraints to discuss. For location D, the reconstruction of the Florida Avenue exit ramp. Here's exit 6A. The tight radius of the loop ramp makes vehicles slow down quickly. Because the ramp is only 1 lane and it is a tight radius with no real vehicle storage, it can cause a backup onto the Selmon Expressway. In addition, the end of the ramp is a free flow intersection that can be challenging for pedestrians trying to cross at the end of the ramp and for drivers who are trying to merge onto Florida Avenue. Location D, the removal of the 6B exit ramp, which is the Channelside Drive exit ramp. The ramp is a diagonal ramp which ends at a 5-legged intersection. This can be challenging for both pedestrians and drivers. It's also closed during Amelia Arena events, and that causes operational issues on the Selmon Expressway. So what's the plan? Because of these conditions and constraints, there are 5 things that we are going to do to help with the original goal of connecting Whiting Street to Meridian Avenue in a safe manner for both pedestrians and vehicles. Today, the exits 6A and 6B are close together. We will be moving the exits further apart and creating an oval at the Florida Avenue exit ramp. This would basically get rid of the Channelside 5-legged intersection and create a new Whiting exit ramp. So let's talk about the plan changes, and let's start with the improvements at location D. At location D, we would remove the existing 6B exit ramp, that's the Channelside exit ramp. When we remove the ramp, we would lengthen the loop ramp and realign it to widen the curve. This would make more room for vehicles that need to queue at the end of the ramp and allow vehicles a longer distance to slow before reaching Florida Avenue. By changing the loop ramp, we would be able to build it on an elevated structure. This would create a larger open area under the loop ramp for pedestrians to pass through from the parking to points of interest on Channelside Drive and Morgan Street, such as Amelia Arena. This would also widen the ramp to 2 lanes through the curve and 3 lanes as it approaches Florida Avenue. A traffic light would be installed at the end of the ramp to make it safer for pedestrians and for vehicles using the exit ramp to merge onto northbound Florida Avenue. This would also make it easier for drivers that need to turn right on Boreen Street so they don't have to weave with the vehicles coming off the exit ramp. A crosswalk would be installed at the new traffic signal, and the sidewalk on the east side of Florida Avenue would remain. The other changes that we will be making include a new Whiting Street ramp. This will become the new exit 6B. When this new ramp is constructed, it will cut Nebraska off to the north. So we will have to construct a connection from Nebraska Avenue to Finley Street. And finally, with the new Whiting Street ramp, we'll have to move the Jefferson entrance ramp to the north just a bit. So here's the 5 planned changes in one slide. Number 1, remove the Channelside ramp. Number 2, elongate and add capacity and pedestrian safety and sightlines to the Florida Avenue ramp. Construct a new Whiting Street ramp. Construct a connection for Nebraska and Finley. And move the Jefferson on-ramp slightly to the north. So those slides were about the changes that we're going to be making at locations D and C. In the remaining 2 locations, A and B, we have 2 alternatives for each location. We'll start with location A, the Whiting Street connection to Meridian. Location A, alternative 1. Alternative 1 would extend Whiting Street to Meridian Avenue with a curved roadway connecting at the existing Whiting Street intersection to the south. Alternative 1 creates a 4-way intersection, but limits the ability to expand the grid network in the future. Alternatives 1 and 2 provide for a signal at Brush Street. Location A, alternative 2. Alternative 2 would extend Whiting Street to Meridian Avenue more directly, connecting north of the existing Whiting Street intersection. This would improve the grid network for this area and allow for the grid to be expanded in the future. In addition, because most of the traffic using Whiting Street here will be turning right or left and not continuing straight, this configuration allows for better operation and enhanced efficiency since both signals will work together. Alternative 2 allows for an additional crosswalk opportunity on Meridian, which would improve pedestrian convenience and safety. Again, both alternatives provide for a signalized intersection at Brush Street. So let's look at the two alternatives for location A side by side. Alternative 1 is a four-way intersection with limited grid expansion opportunities. Alternative 2 is a new intersection where the signals work together and an additional pedestrian crossing on Meridian Avenue is added. Moving to location B, Whiting Street from Brush Street to Jefferson Street and the intersection at the end of the new Whiting Street exit ramp. Location B, Alternative 1. Alternative 1 would widen Whiting Street from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. It would provide bike lanes and 6-foot wide sidewalks on both sides of the road. The Whiting Street exit ramp would have 2 lanes, a dedicated left and a dedicated right. Location B, Alternative 2. Alternative 2 would also widen the road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, but with 10-foot wide sidewalks instead of bike lanes. This would encourage bicyclists to use the 2-way cycle track the City of Tampa has planned for Cumberland Avenue. This also provides for a pedestrian connection between the Selmon Greenway and the Meridian Greenway using the south side of Whiting Street. The Whiting Street exit ramp would have 3 lanes with a dedicated left and 2 right turn lanes. In addition to helping traffic flow with dual right turn lanes, Alternative 2 would have a pedestrian refuge at the intersection. So let's compare the alternatives of location B side by side. Alternative 1 is a 2-lane exit ramp with 6-foot sidewalks and bicycle lanes on Whiting. Alternative 2 is a 3-lane ramp with 10-foot sidewalks on Whiting and a pedestrian refuge at the intersection. Alternative 2 would encourage bicyclists to use the cycle track currently planned for Cumberland Avenue to the south. So here again is the study area. We've talked about the plan changes and the alternatives at locations A and B. And let's recap what we've talked about. So the 5 planned changes: remove the Channelside ramp. Number 2, elongate and add capacity and pedestrian safety and sight lines to the Florida Avenue ramp. Number 3, construct a new Whiting Street ramp. Number 4, construct a connection for Nebraska and Finley. And number 5, move the Jefferson ramp on-ramp slightly to the north. For all locations, Alternative 1. For Alternative 1, we would connect Whiting Street to Meridian at the current Whiting intersection. This would limit the ability to expand the grid network in the future. We would widen Whiting to 4 lanes with 6-foot wide sidewalks and marked bike lanes. The Whiting Street exit ramp would be 2 lanes, 1 left turn and 1 right turn. Alternative 1 would require purchase of just under a quarter of land, which includes 4 parcels, 2 of which are businesses. The overall cost of the project, which includes design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction, is estimated to be $42.8 million. All locations, Alternative 2. For Alternative 2, we would connect Whiting Street to Meridian at a new intersection, which would allow the grid network to be expanded later and would give an additional pedestrian crossing on Meridian. The traffic lights at both intersections would work together for a smoother traffic flow and safer pedestrian crossings. Alternative 2 would widen Whiting to 4 lanes with 10-foot wide sidewalks on both sides of the road. Bike lanes would be provided just south of Whiting at Cumberland with the city's planned cycle track. The new Whiting Street off-ramp would have 3 lanes with 2 right turn lanes and a pedestrian refuge. Alternative 2 would require purchase of just under a quarter of acre of land, which includes 4 parcels, 2 of which are businesses. The overall cost for the project, which includes design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction, is estimated to be $48.7 million. So we've shown a lot of information tonight, but you can find all of this information that we presented tonight on the Whiting PD&E website, whitingstreetpde.com. This presentation and tonight's question and answers will be on the website by close of business tomorrow. We also have aerial graphics and detailed concept design plans at each of the locations discussed. This website also includes a comment form so that you could submit a comment to our team that will become part of the public record. Once the comment period ends, we will take those comments and work to select an alternative to advance to further study. The study will conclude with a recommendation to advance either a preferred build or no build alternative. We will hold a public hearing this fall to show you what we've identified and what we're going to move forward with. You will again have the chance to review and comment before any final decisions are made. Please go to the website to sign up for the Selmon Studies newsletter to keep informed about this and other studies that THEA has underway. The final step in this PD&E process is to take the recommendations from this study to the THEA board for approval. In the fall of this year, we will hold a public hearing to show the recommended alternative and ask for comments. We hope to have the study completed at the end of 2021. So that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will keep the Q&A open for about 30 minutes. And again, the presentation and the entire Q&A will be posted on the website tomorrow by close of business. And we want to hear what you think of the alternatives. We have lots of different ways for you to provide those comments. You can do it here tonight, or you can visit the website and submit your comment using the comment form there. You can also email your comments to whiting@selmonstudies.com, or you can mail us your comment at the address above. In addition, all the questions from tonight will be included in the official document. And while you can send comments anytime, the official comment period for the alternatives will close at 5 p.m. on June 10th. Hi, everyone. It looks like we don't have any open questions left, so we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. Again, thank you very much for your participation, and you can find the recording on the Whiting Street PDE study.com.